Good morning, Sheila. How are you this morning?
Good morning, Wayne. I am great. How about yourself today?
Wow, I'm doing well. Wow, you sound different today. Are you
I
remote?
do. I am not only am I remote, but I am in my car. My husband has a conference, and the hotel is quite loud, so this is where I found the quietest spot.
Excellent, excellent. Golly, this is cool. So the podcast must go on, right?
It must go on, and I am literally on the road, although I am not driving.
Well, that's good. And welcome everyone to 27 Minutes with Sheila and Wayne, where we explore the fascinating world of verbs and their impact on our daily lives. Join us each week as we delve into the different ways verbs shape our language and influence our interactions as we attempt to make a positive difference in the world, one verb at a time.
I always want to say one verb at a time with you at the end, but it would be distracting, I think.
Oh, I don't think so. I think we should try
Okay.
it next time.
All right.
Okay.
We will. Okay.
All right. And Sheila, what is our verb for today?
Today's verb is to justify. And I've got the first couple definitions. You always have more. So I'll say to prove or show to be just, right, or reasonable. The second one is
Okay.
to show to have had a significant legal reason.
Ah,
And number three is to judge, regard, or treat as righteous and worthy of salvation.
oh, I like that. Okay.
Hey, okay.
And I have to give or to be a good reason for,
Okay.
to show that something is reasonable, right, or true,
Mm-hmm.
to space lines of text we're talking about so that the lines
Uh,
come out even at the margin,
okay.
to make even by spacing lines of text, and as you said, to show a sufficient lawful reason for an act done.
Okay.
My last two, to defend or uphold as warranted or well grounded.
Mm-hmm.
And my last one, to justify a decision, action, or idea means to show or prove that it is reasonable or necessary.
Okay.
And I liked all of those. And and when we pulled this verb out of my
Mm-hmm.
trusty little gelato jar.
Let's be clear, there is no more gelato in it. It was clean before you put all the verbs in there.
Okay, have you seen my jar?
Okay. Maybe not. Maybe not. Moving
You're
on.
right. It is clean. You're right. Yes. And when I pulled that word out of there,
Yeah.
I'm so excited. I'm like, wow, justify. What a great word. I love
Uh-huh.
it.
Uh-huh.
And then I started doing research, and oh my goodness, I was inundated with stuff that wasn't so exciting.
Did you find yourself going down a philosophical trail?
And a English composition trail because there was a
Oh.
lot of justify, right justify, left justify, and I'm
Oh.
thinking, come on. And then it was
Mhm.
the racehorse. Oh my goodness.
Oh, yes.
Winning the
Yes.
triple crown. Yeah.
Although he was not a verb,
He was
but
not a verb. That was a
but
noun.
what was done to
That was
him was a verb.
that's right. That was a proper noun, right? Yes.
Right, right, right.
That was his name. But yes,
Right,
so
right, right.
yes. So and what did you find when you were looking for justify?
I did. I started out with a quote, which
Oh,
was attributed back to Niccolo Machiavelli, although the concept went even further back to a philosopher named Ovid in 25 to 2 BC. That's when he lived, but he wrote a poem.
okay.
But basically, the end justifies the means, and
Uh-huh.
so everybody's been talking about that since then. Every philosopher. Um, so if you want, I can start down that path. It's a ooh, deep thinking path.
Okay, please do. However, let
Yes,
let me start off with a trivia question.
please do.
All
Yes.
right. I have a trivia question that we will answer at the end of the show.
Okay.
And this one was justifying a procedure. Ha. And let me read the question to you.
Mm.
Who was the first doctor to perform successfully at that time the unprecedented open heart surgery in
Ooh,
1893
wow.
on a still beating heart during an
Oh,
emergency procedure.
wow.
So who's the first doctor to do that successfully? And I'll let you know at
Okay.
the end of the show.
All right.
So please go ahead.
Well, so we got Machiavelli saying, do the ends justify the means? And I said, well, what exactly? I mean, the end justifies the means. What exactly does that mean? I thought.
Okay.
So basically, it's wrong or unfair methods may be used if the overall goal is good. So I thought,
Hmm.
well, okay. And then there's another way of saying that, and I circled that on my page here. But gosh, there's so many people who talk about it. So another way of saying it is the greater good served by is what you do. Here it is. Here it is. Do you believe you must do whatever you can in order to get the results that you believe will ultimately bring about the most good, even if other people may get hurt along the way?
Okay.
So, and people are saying if the end does not, so Edward Abbey, if the end does not justify the means, what does? Leon Trotsky said the end may justify the means as long as there's something that justifies the end. Nick Harkaway says the end doesn't justify anything because all we ever live with is the means. So Julie Tamar said people will justify whatever for a good cause. So I looked up ethicssage.com, who questioned, is lying ever ethically correct?
Mm.
He or she also said on that page, destiny tells us what we are to the world, but the journey tells who we are. So
Ooh.
I thought, so I was looking up, and I'm not going to ask you if you've ever told a white lie. But I was thinking, is lying ever ethically correct? And so they gave some examples that are kind of tricky, like, do you tell a white lie to protect somebody's feelings?
Mm.
Have you ever lied on a resume or embellished on a
Mm.
resume?
Mm.
Um, do politicians ever lie during an election cycle? I think we know the answer to that one right off the top.
Wow,
Is
I
it?
watched that last night.
We live in interesting times, is all I'm going to say. Um,
Yes.
if a soccer player or football player, depending on where you are in the world, if they exaggerate an injury, is that ethically wrong?
All the time.
Um,
It's like they're trying to win an Oscar as they're
I
falling to the
know some
ground
of
with this
them. I know, and
contorted
I don't.
faces and oh, they're in such pain and agony. And then 30 seconds later, they're up running around like nothing ever happened.
Fred and I were at a restaurant last night, and there was a 17-month-old child there, and he was just adorable. And I knew we were going to have a really fun dinner because of it. But he was rather dramatic, and everything was either fabulously wonderful or terribly awful. Okay, have you
Okay.
ever told small white lies to impress a first date?
Ooh.
And have you ever, when walking out the door, had your spouse say, "How do I look?" And you have said, "Wonderful, you look great." Even if that wasn't the whole truth and nothing but the truth. So anyway, it's a tricky area because where do you draw the line between saving someone's feelings and lying? So another ultimate question then to conclude this is, don't ask whether you are proud of what you have achieved, ask whether you are proud of how you achieved it.
Ah, I like
So
that. Yes.
okay.
Wow, those are all good questions. And you know what? That begs for another podcast. I just on that
Yeah,
deep thought that you presented there, the little white lies. Wow.
right,
I
right.
wonder how many of us have done that.
I would
And,
say everybody at one point or another has done that.
and it's interesting that you talked about Machiavelli. I talked about Machiavelli
Oh,
um, last week. I
yeah.
did a leadership development session last week,
Oh,
and I talked about Machiavelli. I like Machiavelli. A lot of individuals say that Machiavelli, I'm sure we've all heard, oh, you have a Machiavellian attitude,
yes, yes,
and
which suggests that you have a harsh attitude of taking advantage of people or something like that.
exactly, like you're manipulative, and
Yes,
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 exactly.
yeah, yeah.
And I think Machiavelli sometimes is misunderstood
Hmm.
because when he wrote The Prince, which was
That's where this quote came from. Yeah.
Okay. As he wrote The Prince, he was writing it for a prince so that the prince knew how to encounter or engage with his servants, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
or his yeah, his people, his populace. And
Okay.
what Machiavelli tried to suggest to the prince was, and I'll cut this short because this is Justified, but we got to get to
Mm-hmm.
the rest of Justify.
Right.
He said
Right.
he taught the prince that it's better to have his subjects, that's the word I was looking for, his
Okay.
subjects fear him as opposed to hate him.
Mm.
He said if people fear you, they will stand in line, they will get in line, they will do what you want. They won't like it, but they will do what you want for fear of repercussions or fear of consequences if you don't pay your taxes or give your crops to whomever. He
Mm.
said, but if you do things that make people hate you,
Mm-hmm.
they will come get you. And if that's the end
Ah,
justifying the means, I'm here to tell you.
mm,
But that's what Machiavelli taught me. He said, you should have your subjects fear you, but not
a
hate you.
little bit.
Fear
Fear.
you a little, but not
A,
hate you.
right.
Exactly.
Right. Right. Right.
Yes.
Right. Oh, interesting.
So I thought that was very, very cool. Anyway,
Yeah.
um, in today's world, we justify many things, don't we?
Yes, we do.
Like you just said, you're justifying sitting in your car because the hotel that you're staying at is loud because the
Right.
maids are in cleaning and there's hustle and bustle at the. So yes,
Housekeeping. Right.
we justify the need for a new car. Ooh, I need a new car because of whatever. Buying a new home, going to
Mm-hmm.
college,
Mm.
changing jobs,
Mm-hmm.
making the decision to offer a new product. Ooh,
Mm.
okay. And how many, when is the next iPhone coming out? Is it going to be iPhone 75? I can't keep up. I don't know.
I think it is. Yeah.
Making the decision to hire new staff, making the decision to terminate a partnership, and the list goes on. It's just, we are inundated with, again, decisions. And what did they say?
Mm-hmm.
We make uh, X amount, 35,000 decisions a day.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
My brain would hurt. I don't know. I can't fathom that. But anyway, I found two articles. One was written by Samuel Bacharach, and he
Mm-hmm.
talks about 4 ways to justify a good idea. And I thought, okay, this is fresh. This is not stale from the things that I'm looking at on here, talking about right justify, left justify, and who won the
Yeah.
previous. He says the first thing you need to do, and we've all heard the term follow the money.
Yes.
He says, number one, the best way to justify a new idea is by the rational scenario to look at the numbers. And again,
Mm-hmm.
it's following the numbers, following the money, and seeing what those numbers present, seeing what the analytics say.
Yeah. Yeah. I saw justifying expenses and other business applications for the word, but go ahead. Sorry.
No, no, not at all. And as I'm watching, I love American football. I like soccer too. I like
Mm-hmm.
football, but
Mm-hmm.
I like football and football.
Okay.
But
Good.
and now I'm not sure if you've seen many football games now, but many of the games, the announcers, the MCs will talk about, well, it's 4th and 2, and the analytics say in this situation they should go.
Oh.
And I'm thinking, come on, I don't want to hear numbers. This is football. I want to see smash and go get them.
Football is about heart and history with the players against each other, et cetera,
That's
et cetera,
right.
et
And
cetera.
running over people. Yes. I don't want them to say between every play. Wait, let's look at the statistics. What do the analytics say? Oh,
And snugly fitting uniforms.
yeah. Yes. Number two, I digress. Number two is mimicking scenarios. So everyone else is doing it. And my a friend of mine always said, as we were writing things, articles, books, whatever, she always said, her mother always says, okay, if everybody else is jumping off that cliff.
Yeah.
So when I saw everyone else is doing it, I'm thinking, I'm not sure if that's such a good idea to.
Well, I'm proud of you that you internalized that because I did not. my thought was everybody else is jumping off the bridge. Would you? I think, well, probably I would,
I, it looks like fun.
It must be.
At least one
Everybody's doing
time.
it. Right, right.
Yes. He said number three was the regulation scenario. They made me do it.
Oh, right, right.
I'm following they made me. They told me I made me do it.
Yep,
Yes.
yep, yep.
Thinking, okay, all right, let's see. They made me jump off that bridge. So, never mind. number number four, standard scenario. People expect it of us.
Mm,
I like Now I liked all of these, but I like this one particularly the best
okay,
because people expect it out of us. And again, I'm going to go to sports, and I'm going to go to
okay.
businesses, and I'm going to I mean
Yeah.
Steve Jobs,
Mhm, mhm.
people expected him to come out with that creativity, those things that just no other person really kind of thought of,
Right. There's
you
some
know.
pressure to that, yeah.
Absolutely. And athletics, people expect pros to make the great plays, do
Mhm,
the one-handed catches of the football, or
mhm.
belting a home run and having the center fielder
Right.
jump high into the air, reach over that wall, and
Yeah,
snatch that home run out of the out of the history books there, or off the
right.
analytic page, if you will. Gosh, yes. So anyway, so that's what Samuel Bacharach said, that the four ways to justify a good idea. And I'll go over them real quick because I know I
Okay.
really, but, and again, number one, look at the numbers. Number two, everyone is doing it. Number three, they made us do it. And four, people expect it of us. So we expect great things out of people, good people, right?
Right.
Yes.
Right, right.
Okay.
But
And
these
we're,
also are excuses that children use to their parents.
oh, are, are they? Oh, oh, I can see the one. Yeah, they made me do it.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yes. Okay. How about you? Where did you go next?
Well, I next went into, ironically, in the state of Indiana, the law of homicide, specifically the appendix in the coroner's training book, which talks about justified homicide or justifiable homicide, I'll say here. And they said there are three kinds of homicide. The first is justifiable, which means, say, in war, a soldier killing another soldier, say, a
Hmm.
condemned prisoner being put to death, or I'm assuming that an individual who is being attacked and defending themselves would be in that category. Excusable homicide, which I had never heard of before, which is, say, two professional boxers in the ring, and one of them is killed in the process of the fight. That's
Oh.
not certainly done on purpose or with intention, but that's excusable. Or say you're driving your car legally in every way, paying close attention to what's going on, but a child darts out between two
Mm.
cars.
Mm.
A terrible situation, but an excusable homicide because you're not being negligent in the driving. Or you hear terrible stories where a young child playing with a gun sets it
Mm.
off,
Mm.
and a person is shot. And then the third kind is criminal homicide, which is an intentional killing or an accident based on criminally negligent behavior. That would be where if you're driving and you're not paying attention and a pedestrian's in front of you and you hit them. So moving on to that, I moved into, I love statistics, as you know. So I
Yes.
found the statistics for the number of justifiable homicides by law enforcement officers and compared to private citizens, justifiable homicides by private citizens in the United States from 2007 to 2022. And in this case, they're identifying a justifiable homicide as the killing of a felon during the commission of a felony. So in 2007, there were statistically significantly more police justifiable homicides than citizen justifiable homicides.
Mm.
This is from statista.com, but I did research the FBI website and found that very close statistics here that I'm going to report.
Okay.
So police, it was 395. Citizens, it was 257 in 2007. That pattern of more police shootings than citizens shooting started to change on a slope. And in 2019, the number of public citizen shootings increased over the number of police shootings. Police shootings went down, citizen shootings went up significantly. For the police, it was 377. For citizens, 421. And in 2022, the last, of course, recorded statistics for the year were police 316 and public citizens 463, the highest of any
Wow.
category since 2007. So, of
Wow.
course, I don't know why these are or what the details are, but it was just a really interesting statistic, I thought.
Oh, sounds like it. Yes. And Sheila,
They,
where can
yes.
where can our listeners find you?
Oh, thank you. If you want, not for justifiable homicide purposes, but
Please.
my website, excuse me, my email is Zeke and Sheila at yahoo.com. Zeke, of course, is my golden retriever.
And my email address is wayne@mindsyncing.com. Please drop us a note, drop us a line,
Yeah.
drop some feedback. Ask for a verb for us to talk about.
Oh, yeah, please. That would be wonderful.
Absolutely. Yes. I said I had two articles.
Yes.
My second article was pretty, it was pretty close to the four ideas.
Hmm.
We were talking about justifying a project through analysis, and I'm like, oh, here we are. We're back at numbers again.
Mm,
And this is by Daniel Linman, and he talks about there are 9 steps to justifying a project.
okay.
And guess what number one is? Ooh, analysis, but it's environmental analysis.
Ooh.
And then as I went down the list, I'm looking at, okay, there's a lot of analysis here because okay, that was number one, environmental
Okay.
analysis, which is basically, all your surroundings and things. Number two, solution proposal. I thought, okay, yeah, you have to justify why you want to do this. And then it goes into number three, alternative analysis. Number four, impact analysis. Number five, cost benefit analysis.
All right.
Step six was financial analysis. Step seven was risk analysis. And I'm like,
Mm,
"Uh, okay, do we have to analyze everything?" And I
I
guess the
think
answer is
yes.
yes.
I think so. Yeah.
and and then step eight was reporting. Oh, and what are we reporting? We're reporting the
The
findings on the
analysis.
analysis. I thought, how funny. Okay. And go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to interject in one of the studies that I read. You can, this is a person who's an optimist, use these analyses to as another opportunity to sell your project.
That's I defer back to the football game. it's
Right.
it's 4th and 2. We're on the 10. Analysis say go for it. Don't kick the field goal. And if the end justifies the means, as you talked about with Machiavelli, then okay, do it.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
Great.
I you I have to say, and I'm sure I've said this many times, and I'm sure our
Okay.
listening audience is tired to hear me say this. It is so fun doing this because I learned so much each time,
Me
um,
too.
from just a different perspective of the verb
Hmm.
that I have
Hmm.
never kind of went down that path. And
Yeah.
this is so fun. And obviously, we are not saying that this is the only thing about justify, but
Absolutely not.
these are two thoughts that we kind of tracked, again, independent of each other and still separate from each other and
Hmm.
still differing because there's many ways to look at many words.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. So it's fun, obviously, doing it with Sheila. So thank you, Sheila. I'm
Thank you,
enjoying this
Wayne. Me too.
tremendously.
Me too.
His last step, number 9, is validation. And I thought, okay, exactly, validate. So you come up with the numbers, you look at alternatives, you kind of test the theory, you put it out there, and then you validate. And I'm thinking, well said. And I go back to you. What's next on
I
your
thank
list?
you. Next is a true confession, and that is that I have always known of myself that I'm really good at rationalizing. So I looked up to rationalize versus to justify.
Okay.
And to justify propels you in the logical, reasonable direction. To
Aha.
rationalize is an explanation, usually after the fact, that amounts to an excuse. Now, a special directed specialty in rationalization is coming up with a reason why two desserts are a good idea.
Mm.
So
I like dessert, so I'm listening
Okay.
intently.
Okay. So a fellow named Nathan Al Garrett Novosel in a website which I like to call Logical Gymnastics
Okay.
said that rationalizing is defending a decision that is not right and not reasonable, like two desserts. Justifying is defending a decision that is right or reasonable, which would be maybe no desserts. But as I continued down this path, I just was really becoming convicted that what I think of as my fun little hobby of rationalization is maybe a slippery slope. And that, so another back to Ethics Unwrapped, it said rationalizations are the excuses people give themselves for failure to live up to their own ethical standards. I thought, well, now they're getting really mean to me about this. So I'm not going to give up rationalizing completely, but I'm going to be aware when I'm doing it that, I mean, I've never fooled myself. It's never an attempt to fool myself or anyone
Sure.
else. It's
Of course.
simply to make it okay to have two desserts. So,
There
but
you
I'm going
go.
to be thinking about it now. I'm not just going to automatically do it. I'll think about it,
Okay.
but I'm not going to make a commitment to change my behavior other than that.
There you go. I like that.
Okay.
I'll
Okay.
think about it as I
Right.
as I start to indulge in this first dessert. I'll think about the
Right.
second one. Yes.
Yes. Yes.
And I'm
Yes.
looking at the clock. We are at 26:15.
Okay.
So
Well,
I'm
let's
going
hear
to.
your trivia. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to answer the trivia
Ah,
questions. Great
perfect.
minds think alike. How about that?
Yes. Perfect.
So, who was the first doctor to perform successfully at that time the
Right.
unprecedented open heart surgery
Right.
in 1893? His
Wow.
name was Dr. Daniel Hale Williams.
Okay.
And because I, because I was a surgical technician on an open heart surgery
Oh,
team for a couple of
that's
years, that
right.
really interested me and intrigued me. And the
Yeah.
reason he did it was because he justified, if I don't do this, this person is going to die.
Okay.
And
Wow.
because it was unprecedented, no one had ever really done it successfully. I understand people had attempted, but he says, I've
Mm.
got to do this. And
Hmm.
so the article I read about him said he was absolutely doing it step by step
Mm.
because he had nothing else to do. And so he's just like
Mm.
he he was making it happen on the fly.
Wow.
And I will turn it over to you, my friend, to take
Ah,
us home.
well, we do hope that, I know for me, I may or may not be making the world a better place, a more positive place by applying the word to justify in my own life, but I will be more aware of what I'm doing. But we thank you for listening and hope you have received something interesting about this verb. And Wayne, thank you as always for doing this with me.
And thank you, Sheila, for doing this with me. Thanks everyone for listening. Bye bye. See you next week.
See you
Bye
next week.
bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.